to change the decks around. I love seeing the return of Royal Giant. I've got a root personally
of course.
for Backstab.
Okay.
Something interesting is Ron and I have scoured through the balance changes of the times, kind of gone back in history and looked at all of that stuff. And in our research, the Royal Giant actually received many buffs to its hit points, to its damage, to
its beard.
to its beard.
Yeah.
It wasn't until that range increase hit that all of that started mattering a lot.
Gotcha.
Before the range increase, they shot stats at it left and right, and it just was not played. And then that range buff came in and everything changed.
Interesting factoid, all 4 decks are running Mega Minion and the Log.
Yeah, Log's so good.
Speaking of things changing over time, honestly, Log was in fact, Log was so underrated and so many people wanted that card to be better that there's a hashtag, love the Log, right? To give the Log some love.
That's awesome.
2 balance updates later, Log is, according to the top 100 decks, the most played card in the game.
Holy
and
snap.
we're seeing it here in the finals.
Where does Ice Spirit fall now, do you know?
I believe 2nd or 3rd. It's also quite up there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I kind of want to see you do a log impression. Honestly.
You didn't even got the proud jacket.
Hashtag love the
You're
Log.
welcome.
There we go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. This is the finals. Backstab versus Bryant, 0-0. Let's see who will go up.
Spirit
gonna take
Hogrider is
it?
going to be the opening card, but between Skeleton Army and the Furtus, not going to make it through there.
Just a reminder, too, we are playing now a best of 5, so these players have to win 3 times now.
Pretty crazy.
Now, Royal Giant versus Hogrider is actually a matchup that I think is a lot more interesting. You're racing with one beatdown card against another beatdown card. Royal Giant, in many ways, is kind of just the more expensive ranged version of the Hogrider. And I think that typically in matchups like these, kind of like Giant Poison versus Giant Three Musketeer, the higher elixir cost card usually wins out.
Little efficiency error there. I think Backstab, you probably want that arrows to hit the tower as well. You never know if that extra 100 damage is going to matter.
Did Ice Spirit just jump the Log, or does Log not actually kill Ice Spirit?
The
Log
Ice
will
Spirit
kill
can
Ice Spirit.
jump.
Wow,
he just
jumped the Log.
Yeah, quite the Olympic jumper. Skeleton Army is going to be so good here against that Hog Rider. It's really it's going to be up to brianRT to start playing that Log a little in advance. You almost want to play it as a pre-fire before you actually even see the Skeleton Army. Because if you pause and wait for the card to cast, Skeleton Army can get hundreds of damage in prior to actually.
Especially because when you're playing it defensively too, they drop right on top of the card. So immediately after their deploy time is finished, they just all take turns swinging at the Hog.
Very accurate placement by Backstab there. That is the exact most central square that you can play the Musketeer while it'll still go onto the left side. Waited till the Princess walked just in range and was able to take it off, but still go towards the tower that he wanted to go towards.
Oh, interesting. He's going to try to fight Skeleton Army with Skeleton Army, but Log is the answer. Actually, he's going to get 2 swings. 1 swing, fine.
And actually,
2-1.
Another little minor efficiency thing there. If Backstab had waited just an extra second or 2, the tower might have been able to lock onto the Hog Rider and get an extra shot or 2 in and prevented that. Every little point of damage matters. You can tell how close this can get.
Misses the tower again with the arrows, and now the Royal Giant makes it across. Take a look at this ice which is slowing down the Royal Giant. So slow. Hog Rider on the other side. Didn't jump. Still going to have to go across to the furnace. If you look at the tiles, it's not exactly 3-4, but at least if it's 3 away, it'll have that effect.
brianRT's changed his cycle up a little bit now. If you notice that instead of actually trying to log with the Hog Rider, he just made sure to have the Princess down in advance. The Princess already being on the board, she could clear out the Skeleton Army theoretically. Oh, what a lightning!
Big lightning! Wow. Has to play the Skeleton Army in late response, but still you see how effective that card is. That was a Hog Rider that should have gotten 3 swings off, but because Skeleton Army was played, really mitigated the damage.
Backstab has a little bit of an elixir advantage. Leaking a little bit there, but he has a little bit of an elixir advantage still. The important thing is, it actually lets him get a free furnace down, but he's really got to find a good, powerful opening for his Royal Giant to come through. Wow.
Again, the lightning, and there's no Skeleton Army. It's a little bit late.
2 swings.
I mean, talk about momentum, right? Each time the Log is coming faster and faster and faster, and the lightning is opening more opportunities. But I think brianRT is.
Oh no!
I think brianRT is having to pay his price for throwing out lightnings that often, and that Royal Giant gets up and does a good bit of damage.
Just like that.
Backstab wasted his Log there. He expected a Skeleton Army, but he expected it just a little too soon, and ended up firing that too early. And oh no! I think Oh, no, okay, the lightning won't kill it, but a lightning plus a log should kill it, or of course the lightning plus hogrider here.
Plays the log in advance to make sure. Oh,
There
there
it
it is.
is.
The combo. I actually think brianRT played that really, really well.
Yes, absolutely.
Hog Lightning is something where if you continuously play it back-to-back, you can start to gain an elixir disadvantage. Because oftentimes, well, the Hogrider is 4 elixir that never does any damage to any
It doesn't
troop.
take anything off.
Yes, it does not remove any elixir from the board. Lightning as well is actually tough to justify. You saw him lightning a furnace, and then the tower. That's spending 6 elixir to remove 4 at best, right? So eventually you're gonna have to pay for your sins, right? And that happened with the Royal Giant drop.
If you're Brian, do you play the same deck again next time?
Well, you know, I mean, the weird thing is that because Backstab's playing double Royal Giant, and it's almost like it doesn't matter because you know you're playing against a Royal Giant deck. I think the question is actually more in Backstab's court of which of his 2 different Royal Giant decks might match up better against this. Like, for example, he might have rather had his Tombstone variant there, because at least if Tombstone gets lightninged,
There's still some
not
damage.
as much elixir, there's some skeletons there,
Gotcha. Okay.
Sweet. All right. Well, again, this is the finals, guys. So brianRT, my man, is up 1-0. Now we're going to game number 2. Let's see if he can increase this lead.
I'm really impressed with brianRT's Hog Rider play. I think it's been a long time since we've seen a Hog Rider so precise and well placed across a match. In a long time.
You know what's crazy? He considers himself a noob Hog Rider player. Hog Rider is actually not his default deck style. You know, it looks. You could convince me that he's played it for years, but this is actually not his default play. He's also a relatively new Expo player as well. He was a big giant Poison and Minor Inferno player in a lot of the tournament scenes.
Basically, he just started playing the game yesterday.
The funny thing
He's
is,
a brand new player.
Backstab only recently picked up Expo as a counter, or Royal Giant's counter over the Expo, so both of them are actually sort of taking their new theory-crafted decks on a walk down the boulevard.
Here we go, playing the Hog Rider deck again. Here comes a big log, but you really, I mean, based on the last match, it really comes to double elixir time when brianRT can play those Hog Rider lightning log combos that it really gets dangerous. Still, Ice Wizard gets a bunch of swings off.
Right.
Not the worst in the world, but...
Backstab, even if he loses again to this Hog Lightning deck, which, you know, it'll be interesting to tie it up, he's actually in a still relatively comfortable position because it's up to brianRT to lock down a win with his Expo deck
against all the Royal Giants.
All the Royal Giants in the world. And we saw how Backstab played that matchup with expert game plans. Oh no, Ice Wizard. No, there's a good situation for Ice Wizard. He's real good at fighting fire spirits.
Makes sense.
I think he's gonna die here, though. Oh no, he's standing.
I'm a slow one.
He's standing right out of the range of the tower. He lives for just a little bit longer. No, 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 no.
Oh man, the noodles.
That,
Those noodles.
I've been watching Walking Dead recently, and that felt like a recreation of a scene.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
3 undead against 1 wizard.
Yep.
You mean, is it a bat covered in spikes?
Hold on, wait a minute. Spoiler alert. Let's not go any further.
You probably just made some people really mad.
Spoil nothing.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Furnace has to be played defensively.
Oh, it didn't hit the
missed.
furnace. Yeah.
Missed the furnace.
Furnace is actually played far up enough that I don't know if it actually can reach the tower.
Here's the catch with
lightning.
Royal Giant. Actually, I understand that Backstab feels like he has to go for it because if you just sit back, you're just going to get lightninged and Hog Ridered out of the game. Royal Giant is really not worth the 6 elixir purely on offense. Kind of like a lot of other cards that we see, cards like, I don't know, Baby Dragon or Skeletons, Fire Spirits. On their own, they're not huge offensive threats. Royal Giant's that way. His stats are not actually great. The value comes in the long range and catching your opponent off guard.
Yeah, that Hog Rider actually fought through the furnace, got a swing, baited out the Skeleton Army drop, and then brianRT gained a 1 elixir advantage by logging it, and then spent that advantage by just straight lightning the tower with the Musketeer as well.
I think this tower is just out of log range, but I could be wrong here. Let's see how much log this
Find
thing.
out.
Oh!
Just out. Oh, that was could not have been more right.
It was 9. No, it's 9% more than an arrows, and an arrows does a little under 100. So that's a toughie one right there.
There we go, and now we have Backstab 1 game away from being out. So brianRT is 1 game away from winning, but he has used 1 win or 1 deck to win twice.
Right. So
he
Hog
has to
Lightning
switch
is
out.
out of here.
He's
right?
gone. So, like you said, he's gonna be going against. He has to use his Expo deck against 2 Royal Giants. How have we seen players in the past go against an unfavorable matchup using Expos? I know a lot of defensive plays we might be seeing, right? They're playing in the middle sometimes to get that. You call it the leapfrog? The
hog jump?
No, I'm talking about the leapfrog.
The leapfrog.
Oh, yes, the leapfrog for the
Expos.
Expos. Yes. I think that'll be very, very important just because there's no way, really, if Backstab is playing with good focus, that he's going to see the Expo drop and the deploy time is just taking forever to tick up. There's no way that Backstab will be like,
what to do? What to do?
no, not going to drop anything. And then the Expo starts shooting. There's no way that's going to happen. So you need to place your first Expo behind. Have Backstab play things into it.
Right.
Win the trade. And then play your next Expo.
Gotcha.
Okay, let's see if we can do it.
In only 3 Coronation Day broadcasts, we've seen the finals go both ways.
Yes.
Yesterday, we had a 3-0
Yeah.
sweep as Flash won, and in the first Coronation Day, Ender came back from a 2-0 deficit to win 3 in a row and win. So this can kind of go either way.
That's what's great about this game. Like these guys aren't they're not a resource down. They're not any sort of items down. Like they still have it's again strategy every single new round.
Despite the fact that the Inferno Tower was burning away at the Royal Giant, the Expo still got taken down before it could really do significant damage to anything else, the tower or the furnace.
One of the advantages for brianRT is that his Expo deck doesn't have Skeleton Army in it, which actually is pretty vulnerable to all the logs that are being played around. So having guards instead, at least they'll survive and do a little bit of damage to that Royal Giant. The key of all Royal Giant decks when you're on offense is to clear out anything in front of that Royal Giant, and if he's at maybe half health or more, he can do a really great amount of damage.
Musketeer makes its way across. Ice Golem will tank from the Mega Minion. I think that's smart positioning for brianRT. Here comes the defensive Expo, gonna shoot down the furnace, and I actually think that that's a good target choice. Expo's not gonna do much damage to the Royal Giant, but to deny further Fire Spirits, I think is really gonna help brianRT in the long run.
And even a great counter there, that one Elixir Ice Spirit did a great job at soaking those 2 Fire Spirits. When those 2 Fire Spirits hit the tower while the tower is shooting the Royal Giant, you're looking at 500 damage on your tower that you cannot afford to do.
Again, just storing Elixir. I think brianRT has to try again. He has to try middle Expo again.
Backstab's doing the same thing that he was doing the last time he had to fight an Expo deck, which is be very, very passive. Split your cards as much as possible. Don't give him any sort of big opening. Save the Royal Giant to counter Expos, not as a primary offensive tool.
Tough situation, that left side tower, Backstab is more than happy to just start lightning out. Now that he knows that the Expo is off the field, he plays the Royal Giant in the back, and by the time the next one is positioned, he has cards in place to stop that Expo from targeting right onto the tower.
And I think this shows just how deadly it can be if you, wow, the last second lightning saves the day there. That Mega Minion might get a swing or two, but obviously, oh no! The Inferno Tower, if that can get zapped,
There's the push.
Wow, I didn't realize the Ice Golem could do that. The Ice Golem, what happened there? The Ice Golem displaced the Royal Giant, and of course, anytime a unit gets stunned, frozen, or displaced, it retargets. It pushed the Royal Giant just a square over, and it started changing back to the Inferno Tower. But big help here is that the next Royal Giant can outrange it.
Wow, the Ice Spirit actually freezes up the Mega Minion. Mega Minion actually targeted onto the other Mega Minion because of the log pushback, and it's gonna get a lot of value here. There's a big lightning. And I think we're just one spell away from seeing Backstab start his comeback against brianRT.
Got to cycle, though, and not lose in the meantime. Granted, he has over 2,000 health on both towers, so I believe he's safe. But we saw, actually, yesterday, in the game-deciding final game, Flash almost lost to a final push when he was spell cycling.
It's so interesting that no Inferno Tower was played, but I think we're just waiting for the next lightning for the game to finish up.
There it is, the good game coming up from Backstab. He is staying in this, picking up his first victory here in the finals. Coronation Day number 2.
Now, the interesting thing is brianRT has actually many opportunities to kind of roll the dice and play an opening Expo and try to see if he can squeeze one Expo in during the time.
Well, and sometimes one, like we've been seeing, is all it takes.
Yeah.
One Expo can
and
do
really, even if it doesn't actually take the tower down, if it gets low enough that you have time to start throwing fireballs and take that tower down, that's actually a very viable way to beat a bad matchup. Right? Sure. So I think that is definitely something that brianRT has to keep in mind. Start throwing out the Expos early as you can. And
is that taking kind of greedy? Is that a greedy thing to do when you're just trying to like, oh, I'm gonna throw this out and hope my opponent doesn't have a match? Because if he does have a match, then you're kind of down there.
Yeah, it's It's a very good point. For example, if in the opening moments of the game, you get your first 6 elixir and you throw down that Expo and then your opponent just throws down the Royal Giant in response, as we saw, that Royal Giant is going to survive with 60% health. Then you have maybe 3 elixirs to stop a Royal Giant. He can drop another 3 elixir on them, for example, a Mega Minion to stop your counter to the Royal Giant, and you get put into a bad spot.
On a high level, think about this. Siege decks want to win from their side of the board, right? They just sit there. They're not really adept at attacking. They set up something on their side of the board. You have to answer, something like an Expo. The Royal Giant sitting very far back, deep into Backstab's side of the board while shooting the Expo, challenges the Expo deck to do something that it can't normally do. Come across the river and kill this big high health thing, because otherwise, your Expo doesn't have a chance.
Racing Fireball versus Lightning, as it seems. And there it is, Royal Giant behind the tower. He knows that there's no way to cycle the cards fast enough before double elixir.
He could have another one very soon and play it on the left side, I believe, because he had already played the Expo and then he played the Ice Golem right after it. Now guards have come out in Mega Minion. He definitely has another Expo, but I guess he's holding it for the Royal Giant to get off the board now.
Yeah. And he has to consider the other cards that he has to deal with as well.
Look at Musketeer. No river can stop her.
That's one of the longest ranges in the game for any ranged attackers. Longer range than Wizard, longer range than Archers. Musketeers shoot very far.
Gets frozen up. Not the best timing, but not bad. Expo again being set up in the center field, and hope to see another Lightning. There it is. Backstab is happy to just sit there and lightning the Expos down.
Absolutely. I mean, you can kind of see that by keeping that Expo low health, there's never going to be an opportunity for brianRT to keep that Expo alive long enough to then play a second Expo. And if he ever plays an Expo by the river, eat a Royal Giant, buddy.
Mm-hmm. It's very tough to position the Expo in a way such that it cannot be taken down by the Royal Giant or the Lightning.
Really good advantage here too is that there's not a lot of there's not a lot of redundancy in brianRT's deck in terms of where your spells want to go. You're always going to want to fireball that Mega Minion. You're always going to want to log the guards, and there's really nothing else in there that you're dying to use those spells on. So it makes it really easy for Backstab to sit back and just use the appropriate card at the appropriate time.
Here comes a lock onto the Royal Giant and actually gets frozen up for just a little bit. The Ice Golem is going to die and slow the Royal Giant down again, but still so much damage being put onto the Expo. It's really looking tough for brianRT right now, and this was very intentional from Backstab. I mean, you bring 2 Royal Giant decks into the Coronation Day, you're expecting that both of your Royal Giant decks are going to be able to end up closing out the game, and we're seeing the result of Backstab making that decision.
I think this is exactly what Backstab wanted. He wanted to be in the finals against an Expo deck, knowing that that's all it's really going to take for him to take the game is just not lose to an Expo deck with a Royal Giant. That's one of the best matchups, I think, in the metagame.
And that's the only thing right now, again, that brianRT can use. Like, he has to win with this Expo deck.
Yes. And that's one of the challenges of the double deck format. You have to bring 2 decks that you can't bring anything that's too specialized. Anything that's too bad of a matchup. I was really surprised in the first Coronation Day to see so many Expos, because that's a very predictable deck. It's powerful when it does its strategy, but it's very straightforward in what it does. It commits a lot of cards to its game plan, and it doesn't adapt super well. And that's what Backstab is taking advantage of here in the 4th Coronation Day. Oh, wow, Fire Spirits clear that up.
Mitigated a lot, but Royal Giant should be able to be played just in time. We'll see. Does not actually eliminate the Skeleton Army, Had to be a combination of both the log and the fireball, but really for the 6-for-6, it's not feasible.
I mean, great play there by, oh no, that Mega Minion got chopped up, no! But yeah, very great play by Backstab. They're knowing to cycle as cheaply as possible in order to get back to his key defensive card.
Yeah, and he's just slowly chipping away.
He's got a little bit more time. That Furnace will buy some time. Once it locks on, oh, great Lightning. Now he's got to get another health out though, because that thing could lock onto the tower very soon. Is the log going to come down and clear him out? It is.
It does.
Oh, the Lightning though.
Yeah, it doesn't have enough health in that Lightning.
Yep, Lightning is going to close out the match, and 2-2. brianRT is having a really tough time breaking out of this matchup, and I think that Backstab is just going to be happy to continue this trade of terror.
Yeah, there we go. Backstab tying it up now, 2-2 in the finals.
Oh man.
brianRT, Backstab, they're both 1 game away from $2,000 and moving on. My question to both of you is this. Now that brianRT, obviously, he's seen Backstab's decks, right? He's seen the Royal Giants. Do you think playing so much against him and obviously not coming up as a victor is enough for him to create some sort of strategy, or is it just a bad matchup?
I really wonder if he's also going on tilt, right? You start to get worried. Like we saw this, almost like Marcel started to realize that he just couldn't beat Ender's deck in this rematch. It's really tough. I think just like we saw with Uzumaki probably shouldn't have lost to the Expo deck that he played earlier, but he made some fatal errors. Backstab is playing very conservatively, not giving his opponent any openings. He ended that game with 2,000 health on both towers.
On both towers, yeah.
There's
Couldn't
just
even
nothing
touch
that
him.
they can do. But here's the catch. He's switched to his alternate Royal Giant deck. Doesn't have Furnace, which has been very, very effective. Has Tombstone instead, which, arguably may or may not be better, right? There's also things like, we still got Skeleton Army. Archers are going to be in there, which could be good, but it's going to be basically up to Backstab to feel comfortable enough with the strategy to adapt with this 4-card different version of the deck and still pull out the win against brianRT.
Here comes the early Expo.
Best Expo you could possibly play. Right here. Oh, and he does have
There's
it.
the answer. Oh, look, and brianRT knows it, giving that laughing emote.
I think brianRT right there was trying to win a coin flip. 50-50 chance. I've got Expo. You might not have Royal Giant. I think in that case, Royal Giant might have actually been the 5th card, but Backstab had the wherewithal, had the situational awareness, comfortably play the Tombstone, and then get the Expo right after.
Log will clear out all the chunky units protecting the Royal Giant. It's going to be taken down, but now we're in the card ordering has already been set.
Yeah, they've got their hands. Here's the thing though. I would take a coin flip 50-50 for $2,000 any day.
Absolutely. I mean, don't forget, the second place player is going home with $500 and the respect of the community. So not easy.
Right.
Here's one thing that's critically different and could be the deciding factor in the game. There's no lightning in this deck of Backstabs. It's Fireball. Now think how many times in the last 2 games lightning has brought Expo so low as to be mostly ineffective. Comparatively, Fireball is going to leave a lot of health on those Expos.
Also, I mean, if brianRT can place them correctly, then Backstab's not going to get that value of hitting both the tower and the Expo, correct? With the Fireball?
Actually, well, it depends. You're right, though, lightning has a larger radius. You're right, though, if he plays Expo way up at the river, like as far up on the river as he can, it's at least out of range of Fireball. Both. But of course, that doesn't help you really get by the Royal Giant either.
Sure.
Zap resets the Inferno Tower, but Ice Spirit is the thing that really clears a Royal Giant away, and a good defense from brianRT again.
brianRT's down, though, by 2 Elixir at this point, which is not where he wants to be, given the already sort of poor matchup here. It's going to allow Backstab to get back up to 10 and invest Elixir in some way, getting another Tombstone down.
Yep. And he's just going to chain Tombstones back to back to back because there's really no reason to drop it. It's just good fodder for the Expo.
Christian, you're right. Actually, that's out of Fireball range, I believe. But it's so close to the river that it's within Royal Giant range.
There it is.
And fundamentally, that is also the same issue with Lightning, right? If you were going to play the Expo and there's the Ice Spirit jump the river.
It's a pretty full health Royal Giant coming back. It forces the Mega Minion out, but with the Archers and Mega Minion there around, his Mega Minion gets killed and the Royal Giant locks onto the tower.
Ice Golem taking up some small bits of damage, but yet again, another Tombstone.
And as that famous Don McLean song went, this might be the day that Expo dies.
You're calling it a couple times.
Yeah, that's true.
I called it at the start of the show. With 2 players running double Royal Giant, they could lose, but they probably weren't going to lose to an Expo player. And given how much it's been the most popular deck in the meta so far, I don't know.
It's really interesting because with the double deck format, we know that brianRT made a choice, right? He said that I only want to play hogrider once, and that was by far a very, very effective deck I see. I mean, just the way he played in this tournament, you know.
Big challenge, though, that second Tombstone came out of Backstabs. It's actually out of the range. It would not block an Expo, so there was a great opening there for an Expo to lock on, and that really close to the King Tower Tombstone would have been worthless. But look at this little Skeleton Army pushing here on the right side. You can't ignore it. Ooh, I like the far shot. It's outside the range there, and it's going to soak all of those Expo shots. Oh, psych. Or walks out of range.
Well, he knocked him out.
But the log, I think, just came out.
Yeah.
That's right. The log knocked the Royal Giant out, so he had an opening. Zap it to reset the Inferno Tower, or just Fireball.
Takes down the Royal Giant. Yeah, Skeleton Army gets up to that left side tower and does a lot of damage. That was actually dangerously close. If Backstab had not played the Archers when he did, could have actually retargeted onto the tower.
Well, Royal Giant is making a case today.
Yeah.
That's
You have an Expo? Yeah, okay.
Here's my Royal Giant.
Giants.
And honestly, Royal Giant has not been seen in serious tournament play for a very, very long time. When it first got released, it was strong, but most of its strength in the game has actually been on the ladder where you could over-level it. You could have a level 10, a level 11, level 12 Royal Giant, and those are the really effective ones on the ladder. But the meta has evolved, and even though Royal Giant is weaker than its previous forms, when everyone's running Expo, the Royal Giant is king.
Good for him.
Yeah.
He's gonna come back.
Gets taken down
I'm loving
again.
it.
Mega Median coming across, doing what it can against the Royal Giant, but even when you kill this Royal Giant, you are still not getting damage on the tower, and brianRT is trying to play his Expo the instant that the Royal Giant dies.
Let's not count it out yet, though. There's only a minute 15 left in the game, and both of those towers are kind of healthy.
Yeah.
brianRT could arguably play for a draw here and try to get another shot at that 50-50 coin flip with the opening Expo.
That's absolutely true. And again, we do have draw rules, and if we do get into that, we will let you guys know. But I think it's a great point. If he does get that draw, and next time he can win that 50-50, this could be a completely different game.
Plays the crossbow defensively to try to stop the Royal Giant from doing very much damage. Actually going for the fireball, and that's definitely not what you want to do if you're trying to stall out
the
this
draw,
game.
right, yeah.
That log takes down the skeletons as well as a tombstone.
I don't know. I'm not exactly. Oh, the log already came out, so the Skeleton Army could be really effective because the Inferno Tower has nothing to lock onto.
Oh, no.
Might be the fatal error. There's the Ice Golem to stop a
down.
little bit, but the
the
Royal
Ice Spirit
Giant
gets
is
rolled off.
the Royal Giant is
He's got a lot of health.
shooting away at that left side tower.
2, another Royal Giant comes up.
25
He's going for the
seconds
win
away.
here. 23 seconds until a draw. A fatal draw that he doesn't want to lose. Backstab takes the game.
Royal Giant coming through strong for Backstab. He is our winner.
Backstab.
Taking home $2,000 in that trip to move on. brianRT,
I'm so happy.
well fought battle, but just couldn't pull it out against those Royal Giants.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm happy for Royal Giant. I'm happy for Backstab.
It's a great day.
Backstab is a very consistent, very strong player. Reads the metagame very well. He's another streamer and a member of a big clan. I am happy to raise him up as one of our 16 Arena Battle Invitationals. And of course, my favorite card, the Royal Giant.
It's the best day.
One more time.
Here's the thing too. What I love is like talking about how these tournaments again are so back to back that when someone sees a meta, they're gonna be able to be like, oh, if that's what everyone's playing, tomorrow I can just bring this deck and do well. Backstab showing that's exactly what he did there. Let's go ahead and go into a replay now against of that last finals battle. Take a look at Backstab's slow climb to victory. Again, a comeback. Being down
Royal
2 games.
Giant is just the perfect card to use based on the amount of Expo decks that were being played in the Coronation days. And really, when you get to the competitive level of Clash Royale that Rumham and I have been experienced with, we are at the forefront of the meta, right? We are where the meta changes.
Yeah.
And players like Backstab are the ones that cause the change to happen because they bring the fight to you, right? They're not going to say, hey, man, I don't like Royal Giant as a card. They don't say any of that stuff. They say, hey, what is going to win for me?
Absolutely.
Right?
Okay.
I'm going to make you have to learn how to play this game better.
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
I'm going to hold these crossbow players honest, right?
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
exactly what he did. Brought 2 Royal Giant decks, punished brianRT for playing even just 1.
I love the idea of making like these guys are meta makers.
And that's so true. I mean, we saw that with the Super Magical Cup. You would see a deck win the Super Magical Cup, and then the next week, the ladder would be filled with that deck. We've already started to see a little bit of a rise in Royal Giant because of the Expo decks, and I think this solidified it. But more than just deck choice, Backstab was an incredibly smart technical player. You can absolutely lose to Royal Giant, or to Expo decks with a Royal Giant simply by being too aggressive with your Royal Giant, getting it killed on offense, and then not having it in hand with an Expo came down. The smartest thing that Backstab did, split his Skeleton Army, play Tombstones, play Furnaces, never actually commit the Royal Giant until those Expos were down.
All right, well, there he goes. Let's go ahead and pull the bracket for today so we can just do a quick recap. Rumham, Rainey, walk us through the story that was the Clash Royale North American Open number 4.
brianRT, the second place finisher, defeats Santi, which is a big name, then goes on to defeat Mango, who had just defeated Marcel P, and then goes on to face Backstab, but unfortunately is faced with a big challenge of having to push through Royal Giant. And I really think that brianRT, if he's going to come back to these tournaments, should probably think about developing a deck that is not Expo-based. I mean, he's shown that his hogrider is very skillful, but how many different hog lightning decks can you make while abiding to the double deck format?
So smart, but it just didn't pull out in the end. Okay. Big question of the night. Is Expo dead?
Oh.
I'm going to actually say no. I think Expo is still a very strong, linear, proactive strategy. It just does one thing, but it might be the strongest deck in the entire format when it's doing its thing. If you were to bring double Royal Giant and there's not a lot of Expos in next week's top 8, you could totally get punked out by Hog. I mean, we saw Backstab did not look like he was going to win this against a Hog Lightning deck. Nope. Hog Lightning's a very versatile, well-rounded deck. Giant Bowler, very versatile, well-rounded. Royal Giant is going to be there to keep the Expos in check. Good for him, but it's going to be sort of a week-by-week call. All right.
Okay. Well, not only does Backstab take home $2,000 and a chance to move on to the crown duels, but his name will be remembered throughout Clash history.
That is right.
And we have a new clan to join the ranks of the
Oh, yeah.
winners.
New clan, new letter. So go to Clash Royale Open and be the next Backstab.
Yeah, ClashRoyaleOpen.com. That's where you guys can sign up again. We have many more of these coronation days to come. The next one is happening on Sunday, the 30th, the day before Halloween. And guess what card's going to be available during that day? Graveyard! That is right. I'm so excited. I hope we see it. I'm sure.
Comes out.
I'm sure we're going to see it. Yeah.
Like an hour or two. It's real soon.
After this,
go
guys,
use it.
just look on your phones and just dump all the monies and just get all the legendary cards that you guys can. Because if you have a graveyard, you have a place in my heart.
How many graveyard decks are going to be in Sunday's top 8?
I hope there's going to be 8 of them.
I'm going to say 3.
Yeah,
I'll say 3.
Okay, 3 people running graveyard.
I think it's really strong, but it's hard to get a new card. Actually, it took me a long time to get Lumberjack. Took me a long time to get
That's
Inferno
true.
Dragon.
That's true.
But the people who have it, I think, are going to be very happy with it.
They might
That
just
card
have it in
is
one of theirs. Like, I'm going to
strong.
show this off, kind of like, haha, I got it, and you guys don't. All right, guys. Well, again, that is going to do it. Congratulations to Backstab for being a B member and joining our Coronation Day champions. And that is all that we have for you guys here. So thank you so much for joining us. On behalf of everyone here at the official Supercell Clash Royale North American Open broadcast out of NGE Studios, that is Rum, Ham, and Raining.
I'm Ella.
And I'm Christian.
Have a most ridiculous night.
Good night.
I'm so glad that my pick.
Woo, Backstab.
What a great thing.
It's only because you got the pick first.